Welcome back to The Point and a special one-hour episode on the Vedpratap Vaidik controversy. Let's first, Sachin Pilot, question the way in which politicians have responded. Many people feel that your party, the Congress party, overreacted, that demanding the arrest of journalists is the wrong way of approaching it, no matter how you justify it. Do you think a more balanced reaction from your party would have been better received by the country? Sachin Pilot, did you hear my question?
I'm surprised, Mr. Thapar, that you're asking us to nuance our position, but a man who has I'm saying for a man who has gone out and for no good reason met one of the most wanted men, at least from India's point of view, and then just come out with a photograph, I think he can be asked the question that where is his location, how can he help us get that man, and we want, revenge for the people who lost their lives in India. So I think Congress's reaction is far less important than what Mr. Vaidik's reply should be to the Indian authorities, and also his reportage on what he did while he was in Pakistan. It's unbecoming of anybody. And
were you suggesting that Congress would like Mr. Vaidik to let us know where in Pakistan or Lahore Saeed is so that we can then go and get him? Because I presume a lot of people in the Indian government already know where he is. He's not in hiding.
Any commonsensical person, any Indian person would like to know if you can have access to the most wanted man on the planet, then surely you know something more than any rest of us do. And I think to go out and make statements about, and where is the confusion? Mr. Padgaonkar was saying that the clarity on the word Azadi in Pakistan, there is no ambiguity. When you use that word on Pakistani soil, you know exactly what you're saying. I think it's unbecoming of anybody, including a journalist, to go and talk like that in Pakistan. If you're an Indian citizen, where are your interests for this country? Where is your love for this nation? How can you talk about breaking up this country in the garb of calling it Azadi all the way in Pakistan?
I hear you. You've got a cogent case to present there, even if some will disagree with it. Let me bring in Meenakshi Lekhi. Meenakshi Lekhi, regardless of the fact that both Arun Jaitley and Sushma Swaraj have denied it on the floor of the House, many people believe that, in fact, Mr. Vaidik is probably a messenger or an intermediary for your government. After all, he's close to the RSS. He's addressed meetings when Narendra Modi and Arun Jaitley were present. In fact, one of the issues he admits that he discussed with Hafiz Saeed was whether Saeed would protest if Modi visits Pakistan. To many people, that suggests that he was actually asking that question on behalf of the government. Do you not now have an onus to convince the country that in fact he's not acting on your behalf, no matter how indirectly?
I think, Mr. Thapar, you would agree that Government of India has more than this one channel which Government of India can employ. Government of India is a very powerful body. It doesn't need to employ a journalist for entering into these conversations. And in fact, if we were,
then was used by Mr. Vajpayee during the Kargil conflict. He was a journalist. He was editor of the Observer paper. If you've done it, then you can do it again.
Allow me to complete.
I'm just simply pointing out to you that you have used journalists in the past, Mr. Vajpayee.
My point is very simple. My point is very simple. If we have to, I don't have to deny it. I would have said it, that yes, he was, or Mr. Vaidik himself would have said he was. Now the fact neither the government nor he is admitting to have done so, this is in the realm of speculation, and that too by a Congress party. And if what Mr. Sachin Pilot is talking about debriefing, many leaders from the Congress need to be debriefed, and many journalists who have been meeting Hamid Gul to fight to whoever need to be debriefed. And why is Mr. Sachin Pilot quiet on those connections?
Let me now bring in the two editors. Swapan Das Gupta, has the media overreacted? And if you feel like saying television in particular, go ahead and say so.
Well, firstly, let me, Karan, say one thing in relation to the politics. I hope that the government of India is not going to be as amateurish as asking someone like Mr. Hafiz Saeed to be an unofficial undercover interlocutor on behalf of the government. I hope this is the case. I certainly don't believe he is an interlocutor. But as far as the media is concerned, it is interesting that a man who takes the hospitality of Pakistan now believes that he should sing for his supper by actually towing their line. It reveals a mindset. It's not very important in any respect, but it certainly becomes a story. That you are devoting almost an hour to discussing a gentleman whose reputation as a journalist is less than his reputation as someone who moves around in powerful circles, cutting across the board. Incidentally, he wrote a really gush piece on Rahul Gandhi some time ago. And remember, he was selected to be part of the delegation by two very distinguished and honorable members of the Congress party. So there are various issues which are there. So it makes a sexy story. But like many things in the media, a sexy story is not necessarily a consequential story. I fear that the greatest damage which has happened as a result of this whole thing is that Mr. Vedpratap Vaidik is now looking to be a complete frivolous character, a man who would go along and share a cup of tea with Hafiz Saeed and not write anything. I certainly don't believe that he is a journalist in any way. But it's an interesting media story. You know, because
I'm going to stop you there. I'm running out of time.
May I just point out one thing?
Quickly.
After all, Karan, you did also accompany the Pakistani High Commissioner to a function after he was declared a persona non grata. Now, if people had known about it, that would have also been a story.
It was a function, in fact, too, since you are wishing to try and attempt to out with the then Home Minister and the then Defence Minister, who were in fact from the party that you have great affinity to. But let's leave that aside. Let's come back to the manner in which television and the papers have handled this. The key issue is this. You saw how this evening the intense competition to have Vaidik on their channel has led to actually NDTV virtually hijacking the man from our screen. Do you think TV has overdone it, or is this, as Swapan says, a sexy story, even if it's not a consequential story? In other words, is the intense focus in the media justified, or is it a sign that at critical moments we lack balance, proportion and perspective?
Karan, the media and particularly television channels have done for Dr. Vedpratap Vaidik in 3 days what Dr. Vaidik himself has not been able to achieve in 3 decades. It has pushed him into the national limelight. Whether he deserved that or not is something that we can discuss. But the fact is that his entire background really doesn't add up to this intensive media coverage. What has he said or done which is truly newsy, which takes forward any issue relating to India and Pakistan? I see none. I think the media has truly, in my view, gone overboard. This kind of attention was not required. And I think the only one who's going to go laughing all the way to the bank, or at least to greater fame, is none other than Vedpratap Vaidik.
That is probably a very acute and perceptive comment, and you may well be right that the media focus has been unjustified. I can see your finger going up, Meenakshi Lekhi, but I'm afraid we are right out of time. This particular episode is over.
Just one line, Mr. Thapar.
Literally one line, go ahead.
The BJP or RSS has nothing to do with Mr. Vaidik, and there are several journalists in Delhi circles who regularly visit Kashmir and Pakistan for various issues, and information does round in the
you've got that off your chest.
Circuits.
You wanted to give the audience an assurance that the BJP and the RSS have nothing to do with Mr. Vaidik, and you've got that one line in. I'm afraid I'm going to have to end this episode there. My thanks to Sachin Pilot in particular, who stepped in to help us at the last moment. I'm very grateful to you, Sachin. My thanks also to Meenakshi Lekhi, Swapan Das Gupta and Dilip Padgankar, and my apologies that Vedpratap Vaidik was hijacked by a rival TV channel. That is a clear indication not just of competition between all of us, but how big this story has become. You now have to ask yourself the question, is the media's coverage justified or hugely exaggerated, as Dilip Padgankar was suggesting? Goodbye. Good night.